What's up, YouTube? This is Reaper here. In today's video, wanted to talk a little bit about the blog that just came out, and specifically around the need for nodes 1 and 2 in the Death Scourge for Archangel needing minions. And I know that's a very polarizing topic across the board, and wanted to kind of talk about it and like at least a speculative analysis on what our options are, some early recommendations, and that comes with a major disclaimer, right? I think the key thing is don't build anything, hoard your resources until we have more information. There could be other things that come up down the pipeline, like a rework or something like that, that could really change the information that you go into building these characters. But for the current state of the game and the current rosters that are today, we're going to take a look. We're going to deep dive. We're going to look at the stats. We're going to come up with an early recommendation. But again, I must reiterate, don't build anything. I'm not recommending specifically to build anything today. I'm just giving a real look at what we have options available today, and we're going to try to go in and see what makes sense if you had to do it today. I think some of that information will carry over later, and there's good reason why I'm going to make that. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Let's start off with the blog, right? So Death Scourge event details. It's an epic journey to confront and take down Apocalypse enters a new chapter at the upcoming Death Scourge event, and they're revealing some of the event details to help brave the challenges and recruit Archangel. This is a good thing, as we don't have to wait for a data mine in order to understand what to do, and they're basically giving us what we need to build. The first thing that jumped out was what was highlighted here in yellow were nodes 1 and 2 required minions. Obviously 3 and 4 hero. Obviously we know nodes 5 and 10 are Bionic Avengers in Wakanda. But then nodes 6 and 7 are mutant, and then legendary 4, 8, 9. Well, we know we have plenty of options for 6 and 7 and 8 and 9, and we all know we have plenty of options for 3 and 4. So, but it's minions, because, like, let's be honest, if you're not in a Diamond Alliance where, people have 40 million rosters where all of their minions are G15, most and majority of the community has not built these. So, this is definitely a very interesting development as to completing the 4 horsemen and, making that journey to Apocalypse, and more importantly, that highly coveted mutant raid team that I know we all so really want to have as we are trying to push into Doom 3 as far into it as we can. The other thing too is they talked a little about the Scourges, but one thing that stood out is that 3 of the Scourges specifically are actually going to affect the minions. Specifically Undead Swarms, Rise Anew, and the Super Soldier Serum. And we're going to dive into those specific Scourges here. They did give us a nice little infographic, but when you blow it up, it's very blurry. So I did the effort of actually typing it out, and I'm going to show you that here soon. So let's move into specifically around like the minion stats. So let's start with, I broke it down by speed, damage, and health, because when we're looking at sustainability and being able to perform these nodes, those are probably 3 of the most important ones. So we'll start with speed. And, the first big takeaway on the minions is that none of them are really that fast, right? And I think there is a common theme that kind of repeats through all of them, and where it comes to my initial recommendation as to what would be a safe build. But at the moment here, I mean, Aim Assaulter is very power crept. The Kree team, it's definitely power crept. There's some sustain in the kit, but because the stats are so low by comparison to the rest of the other options out there, it's very hard to really push that and recommend that. But you see the Ravagers coming on here, and there's going to be a lot to talk about with them going forward. And when we shift over to damage, this is an interesting one, right? So you've got the Mercenary Soldier. If you've built Skeleton in the past, or you've done Mercenary hybrids, then Mercenary Soldier has popped up before. Hand Blade Master, which is a very interesting one to discuss, because when the Underworld team came out and Nobu got his rework, well, so did some of the hand minions, and Hand Blade Master was one that got a little bit of a bump. And you can see he has the second highest, one of the highest health pools in the game, or for minions. But from a damage standpoint, he's the second highest damage output. So I think that's very interesting as well. And again, the Ravagers make up that top 10 list in this one as well. And then we go into the health pools, right? And that's the key one. Well, Ravager Stitcher, like a lot of people brought Ravager Stitcher to DD5 because he was cheap. He offered some extra healing utility, and then his basic actually hits pretty hard with all that piercing damage. So again, if you look down your top 10 and you see or top 11, you're seeing Ravagers repeat throughout that, and Hand Blade Master is also there. So let's look at the Scourges now, because like I think this is really interesting because this is the first Horseman event where the Scourges give you an advantage, not just a little advantage, a major advantage. Now, there is some pros and cons to this, right? Like, as a con, if they're minions on the opponent team, yeah, like they're going to also get that boost. But even more effectively is if you turn these Scourges on for nodes 1 and 2 to help your minions, um, you're stuck with those Scourges for the entirety of the event. So if they have minions put out in all of the other nodes, it could also be a challenge in the same regard. Now, obviously, minions aren't going to have the same health pools. They're going to drop pretty easily. But let's look at the actual Scourges and talk about them. So the first one's Undead Swarms. This is where on spawn, all minions gain revive once. And that's a really interesting one, especially when you're looking at how can I take a team of minions without having to build 10 of them to go through 2 different nodes, especially if I'm trying to go for a high Scourge score. So therefore, on spawn, all minions gain revive once. That's going to instantly help with the sustainability. The second one here is Super Soldier Serum, where all minions are gaining 30% focus, health, crit chance, crit damage, revive health, and active healing, which is actually pretty cool. I mean, this is giving an instant boost to your entire team as far as damage output. And I think it's really something to consider when you're thinking about what blend of minions to use and why. Because these factors kind of go into it. And then the last one is Rise Anew. And on every turn, you get the flip negative effects. So if you're facing a team that puts a lot of debuffs, that's going to turn into positive and it's going to help with the overall sustain. So a closer look, when you add these things together and you really think about it, there's a silver lining in this. It's not all negative. The really only con here is you got to build minions. It's not necessarily the worst thing in the world. And I think of it as terms of if you're going to build them, like where can you get some type of return on investment? So let's go into the recommendations. And let me start off with the first three disclaimers on this. So disclaimer 1, it's better to wait and hoard your resource until more information's figured out. I think I can't stress that enough. Everything I'm doing is speculative and it's based on the current information we have today. Tomorrow that might change. And, number 2 is the other big thing too, is that if they do a rework or a stat boost, it may change the information. We've seen that happen plenty of times. When Ravagers came out, the minions got a boost. When Underworld came out, some of the hand got a boost. Something might happen between now and the next few weeks before the Scourge, where the next patch, there's a rework to aim or, the shield team. There could be a lot of things that can change in the meantime. And of course, disclaimer 3 is a repeat of disclaimer 1. The safest thing to do is hoard your resources until we have a sure idea from the nodes, from the other content creators that are going to test that information for all of us, and the ones that are willing to spend and make mistakes in the process to give you guys the information that we can all use to give ourselves the best performance possible in the Scourge. So with that being said, based on the current information, I think the safest bet are probably the 3 Ravager minions. And the reason why I say the 3 Ravager minions is for a couple of reasons. One is the kits themselves, are proponents of sustainability. We've seen it with the Ravagers team where the Bruiser will spawn with defense up. If you have the T4 and is passive, all the other Ravagers are going to get defense up. So they're going to take on an onslaught wave that comes in. Then you got the healing kit out of Stitcher and the massive damage he does off the basic. And then you have Ravager Boomer, who's not necessarily the tankiest character, but his ultimate, there's turn rewind in his kit. He's helping with some of that control and keeping turn meter under control. So, and on top of that, we need this team for war, the War Scourge. So, me myself, I put up a 3 million score in that Scourge, and I used Ravagers on node 5, and I used Hero Asgard on node 10. Some people did it the opposite way. Whatever worked for you, it worked, but people got value out of using the team. And then on top of it, it's also a pretty solid war offense team. It's not as strong as it was when it first came out, but it's still very solid and still has a lot of uses. And most people already have T'Challa built. So this is really giving you a bonus war team in addition to another Scourge team just by preparing for this minion. So in my opinion, I think these 3 are probably the safe bet to build. And from a stat perspective, they're the most recently reworked. So they're going to be a little bit stronger than the other minions. For tier 2, I kind of looked at the stats and kind of put together a better idea as to why I put aim security here because, there is, he's a tanky character, high health pool. It's just good for helping the overall sustainability. And, if you're getting the heals from Stitcher, the, extra defense ups from Ravager, like it's going to be helpful. And there's some healing in this kit as well. Merc Soldier, I thought was a good one too, because if you're looking for ROI for having to build something you wouldn't normally build, I think Merc Soldier is a good choice. And the reason why I think he's a good choice is because, his passive gives 25% damage to all military allies, right? And if you have Skeletal, you know exactly how the impact is here. But with the Taskmaster rework and Wakanda rework with Killmonger, you can come up with other solid plug and play options with Merc Soldier, including A-Force and Captain Marvel, right? Anything that has a military tag, they're going to get instant damage boost. So if you're stuck with this character that you wouldn't build otherwise, you now have something to do with it, that you can be a little more creative with what you build. I have Shield Trooper on here, not because it's a very strong character, but because of the retaliation. I can see a situation by putting Shield Trooper adjacent to Bruiser, some tanky characters where they're taking the hits and then they're retaliating. And as they retaliate, they're rewinding turn meter. And I think that's a big piece when you're trying to get through two different nodes with a single team. And then lastly is the Hand Blade Master. Nothing special there. This is really more of just a damage dealer that just got a rework. I think that could be a good complement there because, most of the top tier 1 is a lot of sustain and utility. There's some damage in there, but you're going to want to be able to kill enemies fairly quick. So I have Hand Blade Master as a 4th recommendation. And as we kind of look at it, we'll keep going through the different kits of the minions and trying to understand more about what makes the most sense. And, we don't know for sure if there's going to be some sort of a rework to any of these minions, or there's going to be a stat boost before the next patch that are going to help your journey. But ultimately, I thought it'd be fun just to speculate a little bit and come up with an early prediction as to where we think it falls. Again, I really want to stress, I'm not saying to anybody, go ahead and build this. I really think that some of the people that built Ravagers, you guys are in a really good spot. You have 3 core solid minions you can build around. You just want to kind of look at all the different other options and see what complements that team the best. But, as of now, I think it is a safe bet to probably continue with the core 3 from the Ravagers, especially if you're also looking for the next war run to kind of better your performance. If you guys like this video and if you have any other comments or concerns about anything I've mentioned, or you have other ideas, feel free to leave in the comments. But if you enjoy the content of this video and you thought it was helpful, please consider liking and subscribing. We'll be back again. Obviously you can catch me on stream. I stream every Monday, Tuesday, and Saturday evening. So you can always catch me live on Twitch at www.twitch.tv/Reaper1983. And that's 2 E's, not EA. I look forward to catching you guys in the next video. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you soon.